Just want to throw out a few ideas about science and religion. My favorite book was Myths, Models, and Paradigms by Ian Barber, rest in soul, brother. And I was really impressed by how he brought the two disciplines together. It was really important to me to be able to listen to every point of view and to work hard as I could to consider both sides of any given argument as a result of reading that book and the paradigm of reasoning. He talked about how you have two circles, classic Venn diagram, science on the one hand, religion on the other, and they have an overlap. And the language of religion is one language, and the language of science is another. And they have their each language set aside special unto themselves. However, in the space where there's an overlap, there is a common language, he pointed out. And I thought, I really like that idea. Looking for the common language with each other is really important. It's really okay to have the courage of your convictions, but you should have the courage to question your convictions. That's even more important than the convictions themselves. All great science, in my opinion, begins with looking for deeper truths, looking for more science. It begins with questioning your own paradigms and really questioning the very fundamentals of everything we hold true. And science is the beginning to great science. It's where we are starting to think outside the box. And eventually there's no box to think outside of, and we're not offended or afraid of anything. The same holds true with religion. Religion evolves just like science. And why people bicker about all this is just a mystery to me. Science should be willing to question itself and to not think that their paradigm is the only paradigm and they're so special. They remind me of the thing that so many people complain about when you're forcing your opinions on somebody. And, I don't like it when people do that religiously, and I don't like it when they do it with recovery. I don't like it when they do it with science or any other discipline. I'm okay that they do it. I don't like it because even that is just a wonderful opportunity for psychological, intellectual discipline, maybe even spiritual growth. The beginning of a question should be the beginning of all new disciplines. So yeah, spiritual evolution is okay with me. And going hand in hand with science is kind of like the mind and the heart thing. Is the mind is science and the heart is religion or emotion. And in some ancient civilizations, like in Israel, they had this idea that there was no separation between heart and mind. I mean, that was a phenomenon brought about by really the Western schools of thought, ancient Greece and the like, and where they evolved from as well, and to where we are today. But, they separated the mind from the emotion. And Israel didn't, and other cultures didn't. I really like the idea, and I read this in a book somewhere, and I couldn't tell you for sure where, but I think maybe Pastor Greg Boyd talked about this. He pointed out that the mind is the thinking part of the heart, and the heart is the feeling part of the mind. And again, bingo, there's that center space, that common ground. And this is where Buddhists go sometimes, this common ground. They're looking for the common ground. And if we can look for the good in each other, we'll find it because we're looking for it. But what if we're just looking? And then we just see what we see, and we just notice what we notice, and we don't walk away with some kind of a victim mentality or a superiority disorder governing our lives, and we just hear it. We just entertain the possibilities. Emily Dickinson, she said, dwell in possibility. Of course, a poet is going to say that, right? So I guess what I'm getting at here is do like the set aside prayer says. Set aside everything you think you know so you can learn something else. That's the starting point for learning. And the common ground, that center point energy, I'm going to call it, where we can all meet at common ground, is like there's a part of the Bible that says straight and narrow is the way that leads to heaven, and broad is the way that leads to destruction. And straight wasn't like a straight line per se, but rather a dangerous path. And I think what that says to me is that this path that we're walking on is I call it the biggest small place in the world, or the smallest big place in the world. Is paradoxical, but it's the one place where we can all fit, because it's the center point of every paradigm known to humanity, every school of thought, every overlap of emotion, every religion, every non-religion, where we get down to our morals and the like. There's a center ground that we can all fit into. And the reason it's dangerous is because as soon as you get there, everyone wants to knock you out of that place. They want to make you go back in the duality, and where people are starting to attack each other with belief systems, and Republican, Democrat, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, atheist, whoever could even be perceived to be at odds with each other. And I don't even think most people that are Christian and Muslim and atheists and the like are necessarily militant about their point of views. I think for the most part, we all just want to live in peace, and an open-minded, free-thinking person is willing to sit down and have a frickin' conversation with anybody. That's where I'm coming from anyway. So I guess that's just a few ideas I wanted to throw out there. Let go of everything you think you know, and make the starting point of every intellectual transaction be looking for the common ground. Look at who we really are. Don't look at the distractions, because the ego can't even, the ego doesn't even know that this common ground exists. It can't. It's threatened by it. And anything that it feels threatened by, it views this as an illusion. And you can't reason with an unreasonable mind. You can't reason with ego. And, in God's economy, nothing is wasted. Everything has its utility, even ego. But we can't thank the ego for that, because the ego is not our friend, in my opinion. We can make peace with the ego, but the ego will always be at war with us. And one of the definitions of ego for me is edging God out. Hey, look at my arm. Woo! There it is. Somebody be tripping. Got green there. All right. Peace out, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. The Incomplete Skeptic.